A big game, which I think should have been a primetime game in the Bills and the Ravens game. It was pretty early. I mean, it was nice that it was early because then we don't have to wait all day for it and watch a bunch of other football games that may not be too interesting. But Bills Ravens, the Bills come out on top. They beat the Ravens 23-20, and lot of questions, a lot of drama in that game, a lot of things to talk about. We could get into it first with the whole should they may have kicked the field goal at the end of that drive in the fourth quarter, 4 minutes left to go, or do they do what they do and play it aggressive with Lamar and just put the cards in his hands and let him just go to work. But I mean, overall, like starting out, I mean, as a Ravens fan myself, it was phenomenal to just see them just blow them out. It was 20-3 at some point, and it's like at that point, I was like, all right, I could watch different games, relax a little bit, and not be so tied into the game. But again, Josh Allen just showed resiliency. He showed, all right, let's just take it one drive at a time. Let's just get some points while we can. And a big part of this whole game getting out of hand, I think, was before the first half. They let a touchdown, like there was a 2 minute drive. Josh Allen drove down the field. They instead of letting a field goal, even that you don't want to give up a field goal. But again, it's tough to give up a complete touchdown and then go back into the half and give them the ball back. So
Yeah, and this is a game that, we actually kind of talked about this on Sunday. It's a tough loss if for the Ravens, because they were up 20-3 in this game. But man, the Bills, I mean, the Bills might be the best team in the NFL right now. Solid all around, offense and defense. And they find a way to come back and win this game. Um, you know, it was not great conditions. It was, wet and muggy outside, and the Ravens really took advantage of that in the first half. The Bills were able to strike back with that touchdown to kind of end the half and go into the second half, being able to build on something.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, whatever decisions they made, I think you got to live with it as a Ravens fan and say, hey, we were up. There were some positives and that you were up on maybe the best team in the NFL. What can you do to improve so that way
it doesn't
so
happen
you don't
again.
blow that lead again? Luckily, this is the regular season. This is a team that decent chance you might run into in the postseason. You saw what they can do. You also know that you can handle business yourself, right? They were able to defensively hold up against them. I mean, really, especially the first quarter, the Bills couldn't get anything going.
Yeah, the Bills they were struggling. The Ravens defense looked stellar. I think what the Ravens do need to work on though is being a one. I mean, you have to be able to close out games. This is the second game, and it's literally only week four. So it's like you blew two games. You did hypothetically speaking, the Ravens could be 4-0 right now.
Hmm.
Had they not blown that game against the Dolphins, and had they not blown this game, and it's like outside of the whole decision at the end of the game, whether you go for a field goal and you trust your defense, or whether you put the ball in Lamar's hands and you let him get to work. At the end of the day, it shouldn't have come down to you guys don't put up any points in the fourth quarter. You guys don't put up any points at all once it's the second half, and it's like, I mean, again, it's hats off to the Bills defense, but I mean, it's kind of unacceptable if you want to be a Super Bowl. If you want to be a Super Bowl contender, you can't just go
Yeah,
blank in the second
you can't
half.
you can't do that, especially when you're at home.
And my thing
Um,
is like you have Justin Tucker. You're 9 times out of 10 you're gonna make that field goal, and Harbaugh spoke about, and it's kind of annoying that Harbaugh is getting a bunch of flack because it's like he's not. At the end of the day, you want to trust your quarterback, you want to trust your offense, but he wanted to do the right thing. He wanted to put the ball in Lamar's hand, let him make something happen. Didn't happen. He stepped back like maybe 20 or maybe 15, 20 yards before he made a throw where it's like he had a clean pocket, could have stepped into the pocket, maybe ran it in, or like which is what he's more comfortable with, or make the right pass. But yeah, I mean just take the points. Take the points, trust your defense. Although they haven't been playing great in the second half, that's something that you have to really like just put a staple on it. Like, all right, like he's shown time and time again he trusts Lamar. So at this time that all right, I trust my guys on defense, and it didn't happen, and obviously the end result was the Bills in 23-20. But I mean that's part of the reality that that he has to live with, and that he has to maybe adjust and further in the future games that they have. So we'll see what happens though. So next up, we have the Chiefs and the Bucks. That was a pretty like just fireworks and offense kind of game. The Bucks obviously showed a little bit of struggle. The Chiefs came out on top, and Mahomes was able to tie up that series with Brady, and now they're in a 3-3 kind of matchup. So,
Yeah,
what's your thoughts on that
yeah. I
game?
mean, you know, this was, the Chiefs were on the road here. They roll into Tampa, and man, Mahomes just had a bunch of moments in this game, like just Mahomes type of
Spinning
things,
and
right? I
yeah,
mean, he's just, spinning and tossing balls and and they're just getting touchdowns no matter what he
yeah, it's
does.
just
And
like
I mean, look, you put up 41 against a Bucks defense. That's a pretty good defense.
yeah. I mean, they've been like I'm pretty sure they're the number one defense in points allowed. So
Well,
or
they're not
number,
anymore
yeah.
after
Well,
giving up
after that,
41. But
they
going in,
definitely are.
yeah, they
But
were definitely a high ranked defense. And Mahomes and the Chiefs come in. Kelsey does what he does, right? And they have things clicking on all cylinders. And Brady, he played a decent game, but when you playing down and always trying to come back, it just
yeah,
puts
it's a
a
lot more
lot of
pressure.
pressure on the quarterback. They were still able to make some plays and make things happen, but just fall back with too much of a hole to climb out of. And really, this game finished 41-31. It was a little bit not as close as what that score
As what it
suggests
says,
if
yeah.
it wasn't for some late scores by the Bucks here. So
It's kind of weird too because like, well, not weird, but it's interesting to see how Pat Mahomes is adjusting without a Tyreek Hill, because obviously I think if you're a franchise and you're asked, do you want Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelsey? I think more often than not, GMs would rather take Travis Kelsey because it's a lot more. You get a lot more from running and run blocking, and you obviously get the receiving end. And he's just a stellar tight end. He's shifty. He does what he does, but not being able to have that vertical threat, not being able to take the top off of the defense and open up a lot more in the middle and open up a lot more on the outside of the numbers, it leaves a lot to determine for Pat Mahomes. And throughout this season, he's shown like he can make progressions, he can go through progressions, take his time. And it seems like, I mean, obviously last game there was a lot of like spinning around, a lot of improvising, but you can see he's going through progressions. He's actually going through reads. He's taking his time stepping into the pocket rather than rolling out, scrambling. And again, there's nothing wrong with scrambling, but as a head coach or as a GM, you literally want your quarterback to stay safe by all means as much as he can, and just let his playmakers make plays. And it seems like that's what he's doing this season, which is great to see considering he doesn't have Tyreek.
yeah, and I think obviously they knew coming into the season they didn't have Tyreek anymore, and I think you got to give a lot of praise to Andy Reid for making things easy and finding ways to get and scheme other guys open. So it's not that you feel such a drop off without having that great playmaker in Tyreek Hill, that you're able to utilize the weapons that you have and still put your offense in position to succeed. And Patrick Mahomes does a lot, but sometimes as a coach, you do have to make it easy for some guys, and don't make it hard if you don't have to. And I think Andy Reid has shown offensively he's able to find ways to create mismatches, put guys in space, and take advantage of those sorts of things.
Yeah, I think he's just a great offensive mind, and that's the benefit of having him as a head coach. And moving on to another great offensive mind. I mean, it didn't translate in the game that just transpired with the 49ers and the Rams. Sean McVay and the Rams, they seem to struggle a little bit against, obviously, the 49ers. It seems to be their kryptonite. They only beat them last year in the playoffs. They got swept in the series last year, and the way that it looked last night, it does look like they're trending in the same direction. Again, there's still a lot of questions going on, but the Niners took care of business 24-9. They were able to run the ball, utilize the run, just rally against the Rams, and they were able to do what they had to do. And with the Rams, what seems to be the thing is just get the ball to Cooper Kupp, let him go to work, and let's see what we could do. They're incorporating their run a little bit more, and they're incorporating Allen Robinson a little bit more. But again, the absence of Odell, the absence of
Robert Woods.
Robert Woods, and just not being able to have those kind of weapons, it kind of restricts Matthew Stafford a little bit. And then the 49ers, they played great on defense. They played great on offense. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's picking it up again. He didn't have OTAs with them because I don't think he anticipated on staying with them. I think everybody at the end of the season pretty much thought that was Jimmy G's last game, and the decision was made. Trey Lance is the guy. Trey Lance goes down, Jimmy G steps up, and um he's just looked great. He looked great last night. So
Yeah, I mean, for the 49ers, this is a really great win. They were able to, they had the Rams come into their building, and they kind of they kind of won in almost every aspect of this game. I mean, the Rams are a team that, you know, they just haven't looked the same as they did last year. Pretty
yeah,
much this whole season, right? I mean, you come in, you get blown out by the Bills in the second half of your first game. You win a closer game against the Falcons. I mean, the Rams, they just don't look the same as last year. It's probably because, as you mentioned, the lack of some of those weapons coming back. Matt Stafford also just looks like he's not the
he's not
same
healthy right now.
quarterback right now. We saw him throw that pick at the end of that game,
Yeah, that was
and
just
McVay was like, said something along the lines of, "Did you forget?" Like almost like if he wasn't supposed to throw that pass in that situation, like he was supposed to either check to something else or go somewhere else with the ball.
right.
And you know, but what's funny is going into this game, I looked at the stats this year, and I looked and I see the 49ers, you know, one of the best defensive teams. I think they were like second best in pass offense,
Right.
right? I think they were best in rush offense. I'm sorry. Pass, they were second best in pass defense, number one in rush offense coming into this game. I'm looking at this game. The Rams don't run the ball, right? They
Yeah,
haven't been effective all year. And a team that's supposed to be one of the more prolific passing offenses hasn't
they
really
really
been. They're
haven't
more
been
middle
that.
of the pack this year. So I was like, oh, this is kind of a no brainer. This seems like at home, the 49ers should take this game and win it no problem. And that's exactly what this
That's
turned out
exactly
to
what
be.
happened.
And, like you said, Jimmy G looked good. You know, they had a over under Jimmy G pass yards. I took the under on the most, right? 230. Jimmy G goes over, right?
Yeah.
Partially due to, Debo having some big plays, catching the ball when they're going for picks, and he takes it to the house and things like that. But man,
And
the
I think he's
49ers
just
just
getting
played a great
started.
game.
Yeah, the 49, you know what I like about the 49ers? I like that, and this is where it's kind of, I mean, it's obviously they jumped up to get Trey Lance, but it's like they rally with Jimmy Garoppolo. You can see the body language of every teammate. Debo Samuels, he obviously loves Jimmy G. Um, George Kittle, basically almost the whole team. And it's like when you have that, that's kind of like an it factor. And I think Jimmy G I mean, he also, you have to realize, like, he went against a great defense last week against the Broncos. Um, he had very little time to prepare with this team. He didn't anticipate it. I'm sure he anticipated on being traded prior to the season, and then on top of that, it's like he did have surgery. So it's like to come back from that surgery, it takes some time to get accommodating to. And I think Jimmy G is he's gonna progress. He's gonna have some games here and there where there'll be some struggle, but it's good to see the Rams. I mean, not the Rams. It's good to see the Niners back in competition and possibly be divisional winners. Who knows? I mean, we don't know what the outcome could be. So moving on, we have some teams that we have trending upward and things like that, and just, so
Yeah. Some kind of overrated teams. Well, I guess we'll start out with is some teams with kind of some more hype around them coming into the year, or maybe even sometimes still lingering. But yeah, I mean, right now it kind of looks like the Broncos and similarly the Vikings are a bit overrated for the type of output that they're putting out right now.
right.
The Broncos, a lot of hype around Russ, and they kind of squeak out a last second win against the 49ers last week.
Right.
They lose on the road in the beginning of the season to the Seahawks.
Seahawks, yeah.
This Broncos team, I just think they need to do something
I
because
feel
their
like
offense
Russ
is
just
just
isn't
not clicking.
comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's memes about, oh, this is what happens with the Broncos letting Russ cook. And it's like, people like burning up their kitchen. It's not good. And, luckily for the Broncos, they are able to find ways to win some of these games. So they're not like in a huge hole here
Yeah.
where it's not like their season is over or whatever. And they have time to figure this thing out and get on the right track. But yeah, they really need to show some more. And then, with the Vikings, um, their offense has looked great at times. I mean, just fantastic. But we also see him on another team with memes. I mean, they go against the Eagles, and you know, Kirk Cousins in
It's
prime
just
time games, and oh, turn off the lights, turn off the lights, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is with them. They're such a weird team in terms of they could play great one week and then the next week
they're just an
they're just
like,
flat,
yeah. It's weird
Yeah, we see them go to London. They just beat a Saints team.
that they should have blown out.
Yeah, they should have been able
There's been
to
no
win by 10
Camara.
plus points there with a
Yeah.
backup quarterback and a lot of things going on, and it's like
There's a lot of miscues with what I've noticed because I watched that game that morning, and there's a lot of miscues with Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, where there's times where Justin Jefferson is on an island and Kirk Cousins doesn't read. I don't know if he doesn't read it correctly, he doesn't see him. I personally don't know what it is, but it's kind of like the Vikings, they have to be careful with this situation because Justin Jefferson is playing lights out. Regardless of the quarterback situation, he's open, he makes great routes. He has clean routes. He has great hands. He's a stellar player, and it's like you don't want another Stephon Diggs happening, where Stephon Diggs is like, "See you later, Adam Thielen. I'm out of here. I need a real quarterback. I can't deal with this."
yeah, and it's crazy to say considering the type of numbers that Justin Jefferson has put up already this year.
Right.
I mean, he's had some huge games, and they partially because they just throw the ball so much. So
No,
I think a player like that is just really
it's
going to
gonna
get his numbers.
right.
But yeah, Kirk Cousins. I mean, he needs to make some better decisions, and he's an interesting guy because he kind of has the talent to make all the throws. Right? You can't sit here and say something along the lines of, well, Kirk Cousins is, he just can't get me the ball. He doesn't have the talent. No, it's his decision making. It's his timing. It's his just weird inability to kind of rise to the occasion in big
Yeah, he
games.
just doesn't have. I just don't think he has that it factor as
Yeah,
a quarterback that you need. I think another overrated team we could kind of just brush over a little bit is the Colts. The Colts, they haven't been able to get another big quarterback change. They haven't been able to
yeah.
get on pace. Matt Ryan at times looks like he's on the brink, the tail end of his career, and it sucks to see because I think he's a great quarterback, and we both watched him in Boston College. We watched the beginning stages of Atlanta when he was playing with Tony Gonzalez. He had the whole Matty Ice situation. I think he'll get back on track, but it's just really disappointing considering their additions with him, with Stephon Gilmore, and again, Jonathan Taylor is not getting many touches. It's like if it's not broken, don't like. I mean, if it like, don't break it. Like let Jonathan Taylor do what he does, open up the pass offense, open up the play action, and possibly be able to get some connection with Michael Pittman, whatever the case is. So
Yeah, it's tough with the Colts. There's really no rhyme or reason for why it just doesn't seem to be working.
nah,
A lot of people had some high hopes for the Colts. The past few years they kind of been this kind of in between team, and then you
because of the
see them.
quarterback play.
Then they have Matt Ryan now. You would think, okay, he's not like the greatest quarterback or one of the greatest quarterbacks at this stage of his career, but he's a solid veteran quarterback, proven professional, can make the throws. It doesn't translate. It's not translating. They can't get their running game going. Their
Right.
defense isn't holding up, even after spending a bunch of money on it to
Yeah.
improve it. And last year they weren't a horrible
They were
defense.
pretty good last year on
So now
defense.
you would think you add some more players, you get the off season, you get them acclimated, you have them ready to go. But yeah, they just haven't been able to really find their stride yet, struggling with teams that should be inferior opponents to them. So yeah, definitely another, overrated team so far. But we could move into some underrated teams. And yeah, I mean, we could start off with the
With the
Seahawks right now,
Seahawks,
right?
man.
The Seahawks, man, coming into this season, I don't think anybody would think Geno Smith was putting up the points that he's putting up this
Nah, I
year.
don't think so either.
I mean,
And
he's had other games where it's like, oh yeah, he's still Geno,
right,
right? But then he comes right back this week,
man. Listen,
48 points against the Lions.
48 points. That's crazy.
Man,
Russ
man.
Russ warmed up the grill so Gino could cook. I mean, Gino, he's playing lights out, man. I think I don't think Gino's a horrible quarterback. I also don't think he's great, but he's
Mhm.
sustainable right now. And I think also you have to kind of look at it in a sense of like, look at the organization he was with. He was with the Jets at the time. They had some coaching changes. There was a lot of inconsistency. You figure he sits behind Russ for I think 2 years. He's been in Seattle. I'm sure he's learned a lot from Russ. I'm sure he's learned a lot from Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll is just a great. He's just not going to back down. He's not somebody that's like, okay, we're in a rebuilding stage. He wants to win now. So I love it. I love the fact that the Seahawks are playing great. I love the fact that Geno's kind of having like a redemption season. Like I'm still a guy that can play quarterback in this league, regardless if I'm a bridge quarterback or if I'm gonna be a really solid backup. So I mean it's great to see, and I think they're in the right direction. So I don't think anybody saw this coming.
Yeah, another team in the right direction, the Jags. It hasn't translated in wins every week, but look, for a team that was horrible last year, a lot of off the field stuff going on.
Right.
They had a rookie quarterback and Trevor Lawrence who wasn't quite living up to maybe some people's expectations, but still showing flashes here and there. This year, man, I mean, they look like a somewhat solid team. They definitely have grown. They
Right.
seem to have taken the next step in terms of getting better, and they're a team that in a division that they're in, it's wide open. They
Nah,
have
I
as
think
good a shot
it's
as anybody to win it.
right.
Some people probably have them as a favorite to win it at this point because of, like we talked about with the disappointment with the Colts and
The
Tennessee.
Titans, there's so much uncertainty
Yeah, the
there.
Titans are kind of having their own struggles, and the Texans are still the Texans and not taking the next step. So, yeah, a team like the Jags, I mean, they've been able to put up points and they've been able
That's
to,
something that they've struggled with in the past.
right.
So, and it's good. It's good that James Robinson is back.
Mhm.
Obviously he had a devastating Achilles injury last year, but he's playing. It doesn't seem like he missed a beat. And again, Trevor Lawrence is playing great. They got him some weapons. It seems like him and Christian Kirk are on the same page, and it's good that he has that receiver. And hopefully everybody on that team can develop like as time goes on. Hopefully Trevor Lawrence shows some progression like he has been and can stay healthy because again that line I think is the main problem. But they're building on that, and again, you want to have a line to protect your franchise guy. So with
Yeah.
that being said, I think we could go into kind of a significant topic this week with just injuries in general and NFL's player safety policies and what's going on with that. We had a huge scare in that Bengals and Dolphins game with Tua, and it's great that he's doing well and he's gonna get some rest this week hopefully. And again, it's tough to see. We talked about it last week. It's
Yeah,
tough to
yeah,
see.
yeah. We talked about, because last week we saw Tua get hit in the Bills game, and he had to go out, and he couldn't walk and all that, and then you have Teddy Bridgewater come in, and Tua come back
Yeah,
later in the game.
and
He
that was
comes
just
back in and
like
plays, and it was a story. And then now this week he comes in and starts against the Bengals, and you know gets hit. Clearly. Some head trauma. I know they kept trying to say it was the back. Everyone's seen,
yeah,
the
that's
the,
not no
the,
back.
the
That's not a back
reactions
problem.
that Tua was having. And look, the doctor was fired now. The NFL got rid of them, and yeah, it's just a disaster. Player safety in general, like we said, players tearing things on turf. I mean, at this point, look, you guys are the NFL. Why you have to have turf? Why you can't just have grass there and be able to maintain it with all the money that they make hand over fist?
Right, or at least get quality turf because
Yeah.
that turf is not gonna do it. It's not gonna cut it. And
So
it's just yeah, it's just
yeah.
tough.
So but yeah, I mean, look, I don't know what's going on. I mean, look, we've seen terrible hits before,
Right.
and usually, pretty much all the time, it doesn't look as bad as the stuff Tua was going through. I
Yeah,
mean,
so what's your thoughts on that? Because as I mean, I'm not a coach, but if I was in that position, it's kind of like you got to take the helmet away. Hey, listen to it. You're sitting this one out. We're playing against the Bengals this week. It is what it is. Teddy Bridgewater can manage. He's not a bad quarterback. Let's sit you down. Let's get you some rest and we'll get some more evaluations. That's my take on it. Tua could say all the hell all he wants. He could be frustrated, but at the end of the day, it's a head injury. If it's a hammy injury, then it's like, all right, by all means, you make the decision on your own. But anything head wise, shoulders and above, it's just like I don't know. I personally don't think that Mike
yeah.
McDaniel's took the right approach with that.
Well, I think the problem is um, when the doctors tell you he's okay, and you're a young head coach, and it was maybe a situation where it's not an excuse for him not to do the right thing, but I think his inexperience showed here. I
Yeah,
think a more experienced coach
but it
would
just
have
sat him.
said, "Nah, you can't go in. Like,
Yeah,
I don't care what the doctors are saying. We're gonna sit you the rest of this game, and we're gonna figure out some more stuff. Make sure you're good to go." He kind of takes the doctor's words for it, and it just wasn't the right call. And you see that when he didn't even get hit. He got sacked and pulled and kind of slammed into the ground where his head
Yeah.
hits it, and that's it.
And it's
Things
just
go
another
haywire, and
right.
like I was saying before, we've seen violent hits before. What happened to Tua both weeks in a row might have
It's
been
devastating.
the two worst situations. I mean, and look, and this is counting when you see players, legs get bent the wrong way and
Yeah.
fingers go that way and
It's a
arms
tragedy,
go that
man,
way.
because it's like, my whole thing with it is he shouldn't have been playing. And it's like it happened Sunday. They were playing Thursday. So treatment wise, Monday maybe he got some treatment. Tuesday maybe he got some treatment. Wednesday, Thursday they're on the road to go prep for the game and they're practicing. So it's like there's not much gap of rest. There's not much. So it's like just sit him down. Teddy
Yeah.
Bridgewater is a good enough quarterback to possibly win that
Well,
game.
I think the problem is also, like I said, it seems like more of like a Mike.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just an experience
yeah,
thing.
it's an experience thing, and the other part is if you bring him back to end the game because he was supposedly good enough,
Why wouldn't you bring him back into the next game?
right? And
Right.
and then probably they didn't look into it more. They figured, okay, the doctor said he's okay, but yeah, that's why you have to handle these things right from the jump because
Right.
then they don't just go away as we see. Now it's a bigger issue where if maybe you would have sat him for the rest of that game,
Then at least you have
you could have been,
a little bit more
looking
leeway.
more into it, and then you would have said, "Oh no, he's not okay. We're not going to start him."
Right.
My guess is they probably didn't look into it that much afterwards.
They were probably so tied into the game because it was obviously a close
Yeah.
game where they were just like, all right, Tua, you ready to go and you ready to rock and just two in the moment. And it's like Tom or Tom Brady. Bill Belichick probably wouldn't have done that. Bill Belichick would have been like, all right, Tua, you're sitting out for this game. I don't give a damn what's going on.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like even Brandon Staley, it's like you have Justin Herbert out there playing with almost a broken rib and he's out there playing every single snap. It's like who's he going against? He's going against the Jaguars and the Jaguars beat you guys that week. So it's like if anything, just let the guy get some rest, let him heal, let him, and that's part of the thing. It's like there has to be some type of understanding. There has to be better evaluators, or they just, these coaches just need to be held accountable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see what happens further on in the year. Hopefully nothing else happens, and hopefully there's a lot less head injuries and things like that. But with that being said, we're gonna get into another topic. We have the top offensive rookies. There's a lot of standout rookies that's been playing well this year. It's kind of taken a while for them to kind of get set in, but seems like things are picking up. Chris Olave got his first career touchdown in London against the Vikings. Had a great game. He actually covered my over yards that I had for him, over 40 yards on the last play. But so yeah, Chris Olave, you have Dobbs on the Packers. He's playing lights out, and it seems like Aaron Rodgers is starting to build that trust with him, which is a beautiful thing to see because now we're going to be able to see a lot more shots down the field, things like that, and George Pickens, a lot of, and I'm sure you have some rookies that you've seen over the span of the season so far.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's the obvious ones. Some of them you said Olave, Dobbs, Pickens with that crazy catch, and
Yeah, that was
I
nuts.
mean, Pickens kind of been building since the preseason, just crazy blocks and just doing
Just
kind
a
of all
solid
around
receiver,
things.
yeah.
Yeah. But Garrett Wilson on the Jets. I mean, not
Yeah,
for Garrett Wilson, the Jets don't win the games that they do. So he's certainly been a bright spot. We knew his pedigree coming in from Ohio State, dominating over there. But still a bit of a surprise to see him be able to do things this
right.
early
Yeah,
in his
this
rookie
early.
season with, look, they didn't even have Zach Wilson the whole time. You got backup quarterbacks in there, and he's still finding ways to put up numbers and make some plays. So good for him. I mean, Drake London, not on a great team with Atlanta, but able to do some things and try to be a standout player. Treylon Burks for the Titans. He's shown flashes here and there so far. He'll be one to watch. There's some, there's some other guys on this list doing more, but he's shown the potential at least, which is what you want.
Yeah.
And it's hard this early, right? We're only a few games in to the season, and we're talking about rookies here, but yeah, all you really want to see right now is flashes of some potential, and Burks has shown it. A bit of a sleeper for me is Pacheco for the Chiefs. I mean, he's come in and they already have Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. This Bucks game,
Lights out.
he was doing work. They have him in there probably just as much snaps as Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he seems to be the clear running back where if they want to really run the ball, they give it
That's
to
where they're
him.
gonna go.
He kind of has that motor, that gritty
Frame
attitude.
too.
He's fighting for the yards. And all they
I
keep
think
talking
that's
about is how this guy gets to the seventh round.
Yeah, and I think that's part of like Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's his weakness. He's not an every down back. He
Right.
doesn't have the frame to
Yeah, he's
sustain
kind of
that.
more of a scat back, third down
Right,
type
he's
of
more
back.
of like a third down back, more of maybe like what Mark Ingram would do towards the tail end of his career. He has a small frame. You're not gonna give him 20 to 30 carries a game. I
Mhm.
mean, not that that's the reality anymore, but I mean, unless you're like a Derrick Henry or even now Saquon is starting to handle that load. But yeah, I mean, he's just, which is great. I think Pacheco is going to be able to step in, maybe give that kind of Kareem Hunt kind of feel a little bit. But again, I mean that's he's having a great season. He's off to a great start, and just looking forward to see what he's able to bring to that Chiefs offense, because I mean we've seen what they could do passing wise and running game wise. They really haven't been the same since Kareem left.
Mhm.
They've been trying to find that filler. And Edwards Clyde-Helaire, he's good, but
Yeah.
again, it's just like we mentioned, he's not an every down back, and there's only so much you can do with that. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And there's some other guys stepping up as rookies. Damon Pierce for the Texans was kind
uh,
of doing his thing so far. Jahan Dotson for the Commanders, right? They haven't been able to win a lot of games, but with Carson Wentz, they've been putting up yards, and he's been a recipient. Could form a nice dynamic duo over there with
yeah,
Scary Terry and
Curtis Samuel, and be
yeah,
able to
yeah.
just build on that. I think they just need a quarterback. They need to find out something with their quarterback situation, because once is, I mean, he just does it takes too long for him to get going.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's a whole nother subject. But with that being said, we're gonna get into some of the weekly previews that we have for next week. First game that we're gonna get into is the Chargers Browns game. The Chargers are favored by -3, and they're playing away. They're playing at the Browns. Should be an interesting game. I think it can go either way, really, because
Yeah.
you have the Browns' run game and Jacoby Brissett. He's not a phenomenal quarterback, but he does enough, and he does what he has to do. And I think they just lost to the Falcons, and I think that's kind of gonna give them a little bit of an edge. And the Chargers, they they struggled with the Texans, but again, it's kind of we have to kind of see where they stand, because it's like that should have been a gimme game, and they let
Yeah,
the Texans come back
it's weird because obviously that game Herbert was still struggling with the
with the injury.
injury to his ribs and all that, and they played better last game and they got the win, but yeah, it'll be tough to see where is Herbert in that recovery process. Is he
Yeah.
going to be okay where he's not struggling and it's not affecting him? Will the Browns be able to put the pressure and get some hits and really shake him up? We saw in the Chiefs game when he did get injured.
Yeah, that was tough.
It looked like on one of those, I think it was like a third down pass where he just looked like he just got drilled right before it. He was already injured. We knew he was injured. It looked like it affected his play and being able to make the right decision and throw the right pass there. So you know, yeah, I mean, I think like you said, this one is kind of an even game with where both of these teams stand right now. Obviously, the Chargers are way more explosive on offense. The Browns probably, um, with a little bit better of a defense and can really chew that clock up on the
Yeah,
ground with that 1-2 punch there with Chubb and Hunt, and they could really kind of eat up all that time and keep the ball out of Herbert's hands, make it
right.
hard for them when they do get the ball. It's hard to get going, and yeah,
Yeah, and then you have to look at the fact that, you have Miles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney coming off the edge and no Rashawn Slater. Rashawn Slater's out for the season, so that's
mm,
going to be a huge factor. Um, and that's not something that you want to be dealing with. You don't want to be dealing with one of the number one pass rushers in the league
mm-hmm.
as a quarterback with messed up ribs. So again, we'll see how that pans out. I would not be surprised if the Browns come out on top. This is a game that I can see the Browns winning, but again, we'll see what happens. Another interesting game that we have is the Cowboys versus the Rams. The Rams are favored right now. I
Mm-hmm.
believe they're favored by -6. The line could have changed by then.
Yeah, it changed slightly. It's the Rams went to -4.5.
Okay,
So
that
people have
makes
been,
sense. They have their
Cowboys
doubts.
fans, they're high on Cooper Rush and
Hey, I think Cooper Rush is something to be high on, not for
mhm,
nothing. I mean,
something to be high on.
I mean, it's weird because there's obviously some differences in him and Dak's play, but Dak plays very hesitant, it seems like, and Cooper Rush takes what the defense gives him. And sometimes that can be a benefit in just not overextending plays. If the play is there, take it. If it's not, then live for another down. And I think that's what Cooper Rush does great. And I think Kellen Moore likes that. I think Kellen Moore appreciates that. And Dak is on he's rushing to come back. I think he doesn't want to lose his job, but I mean,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah, Dak is over here talking about, yeah, I'm trying to get back this week, and the Cowboys like, no, no, don't worry, Dak, we
yeah,
got
take your
it.
sweet time.
Yeah.
Take your sweet time. And again, maybe this may be the downfall of Cooper Rush, and they may ice down the hype a little bit with the Rams. They probably want to get back on track. But again, we'll see what happens, and hopefully the Rams can come back and try to take care of business against the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Rams are a team that, we talked about earlier. They've kind of had their struggles this year, kind of not really been able to show that they're the same team as last year so far.
Yeah,
But, they get a Cowboys team with a backup quarterback. Cooper Rush is playing well. He's still a backup. He's not somebody who's going to just light you up, right? He's more of game manager mode plus sometimes where okay, he's a game manager, but he can let it fly a little bit
yeah,
and for certain time periods of the game. And the Rams, I mean, look, both of these teams have solid defenses this year.
yeah. The Cowboys have a great front four,
Yeah,
so
and the Rams defense is still good. This is a game where this is at home for the Rams. This is a game where if I'm the Rams, I look at this like, yeah, we there's no reason why we don't win
we
this
don't
game,
win this game.
right?
Yeah,
I don't care that Cooper Rush is a little bit hot right now. This is a game that we need to win. We have things we have to
they have
fix.
to
We
get
have
back
to
on
get back on
track,
track. Yeah.
especially they have to be able to get once Van Jefferson comes back, that'll alleviate a little bit more on Cooper Cup, a little bit more on Allen Robinson. But I mean, I don't know. With the way that their blocking has been, their line has been really suspect. The Cowboys front four, I mean, or not Dexter Lawrence, Michael Parsons is just like he's playing lights out, and it
Mm.
just opens up a lot for that entire D
Look,
line. So
we talked about we kind of recapped that Rams 49ers game earlier. Something I didn't even mention, the 49ers had 7 sacks in that game.
yeah, that's
So
tough.
now you come in and you have another defense
Right.
that's very good. And Micah Parsons is just a man possessed out there.
Yeah, and
He's going to, if he's not getting sacks,
he's gonna get
he's
somebody
getting
else.
pressures and he's
Yeah.
getting hits, or he's freeing up somebody else. So
Yeah.
That's the part with the Rams that they'll have to figure out. I mean, like I said, they should be looking at this game as a game that they are supposed to win,
Yeah.
but they need to have the game plan to deal with these guys, and like you said, their line's struggling. They gotta find a way to overcome that.
Yeah, they have to pick that up. And another team that needs to pick up some things after a tough loss is the Ravens. The Ravens are versing the Bengals at home, and the Ravens are a -3 favorite right now. I think the Bengals, they're starting to get back on track. I think Joe Burrow is starting to pick it back up again. I do think they're legit. I do think the Bengals are still somebody to worry about in the AFC. They're starting to get some continuity with that line, and that can be a problem. That can be an issue, especially with how the Ravens defense has been playing lately. If the Ravens fire off and they start playing well how they did in the beginning of the Bills game, then I think they have little to worry about, but they have to sustain that throughout the entire game. And Lamar has to play he has to play to be honest, he has to play a little bit better. You have to be able to put up points. You can't be putting up 20 points and not being able to finish drives, not being able, you're doing extending too much, doing too much. Like if it's not there, throw it away. If it's, I don't know. I just think Ravens -3, I would take it only because also the Ravens have been kind of fed up with the Bengals. Bengals have been talking crazy, and the Ravens had barely half of their team last year, so that's probably something that they want to get revenge from. But we'll see what happens on Sunday. So
Yeah, I think, the Ravens come into this game. We saw them blow two leads already. One to the Bills, one of the best teams, one to the Dolphins, possibly one of the best up and coming teams with how they're looking with a healthy Tua. I think, in this game, you have a Bengals team that did just go to the Super Bowl. They were kind of the surprise team last year. This is a divisional game. Like you said, there's bad blood between these teams. The Ravens are at home. They want to win this game. They're gonna be focused. They're not happy that they lost last week. I like the Ravens here to come out and handle business. Not let their foot off the gas, and like we talked about earlier, find a way to finish games and close it out.
yeah, they have to.
They kind of need to here. You can't pick up more losses this early in the season
Yeah,
and still with everything that's been going on. I mean, Lamar has still been playing great. He's still been playing at that caliber as one of the better players in the league here. You got to find a way to string things together and not waste
not
the
waste that.
performances of some of these guys, and come out with a win here at home against a divisional opponent that we know these games matter in a division that, yeah, I mean, look, the Steelers look to be more in a down year this year, but
Love it.
they're not going away, right? They're
Yeah.
Nobody's going away here. The Browns are they're still the Browns, but they're better. They're
Yeah, and
not they're
once
not
Deshaun
giving it
Watson
away.
comes back, we'll see what
The
happens.
Bengals, they're coming off a year where they just went to the Super Bowl. So and then you're the Ravens. You're a team that should have been going deep into the playoffs last year if you weren't dealing with other issues. So look, this is a division where all these teams are kind of going to be
Tough teams. The
tough
AFC
teams.
North is always a
Yeah,
tough
it's
division,
always
regardless of the
tough. It's
circumstances.
probably even tougher now with the somewhat rise of the Browns and the somewhat decline of the Steelers. Right, it kind of makes them all a little bit closer to the middle here. So yeah, this is a Ravens team that coming into the season, I think probably more of a favorite to win this division than the rest of them. They have a chance here to get a win that's going to matter a lot. So
Yeah,
I see the Ravens capitalizing here, and I think they'll be able to cover the spread as well.
yeah. So with that being said, if you're looking to make some money, we have some best bets that we're gonna try to go over. And so first off, we have the Texans versus the Jags, a divisional game, and the Jags are a -7 or I think they're -7 right now. They're a -7
Yeah,
favorite at
so
home.
so
So
they're -7. Some places they're moved up to 7.5. I like them at 7. Obviously, 7.5 is is a bit tough.
Iffy. Yeah.
Being a divisional game, but yeah, I mean, look, the Texans and the Jaguars last year were along the same type of
Talent wise.
team,
Yeah.
talent wise, production wise, and all that. This year, I think there's a clear difference. I think the Jags have been playing well. I think they've got some tough losses despite them playing well and showing some progress.
They're headed in the right direction, which is a
Yeah,
good
they're
thing.
certainly headed in the right direction. I think this is a team that can go in there. They're playing at home. They have the Texans rolling in there. This is a team that they probably have circled on their schedule as okay. This is a team that we need to win. One,
Yeah.
it's a divisional game. Two, talent wise, we should be able to beat this team
Right.
and come away with a win instead of having other teams get it done and close us out. So I like the Jags here. If you could get a -7, I think that's the way to go.
And another divisional game that we have coming up, we have the Bears versus the Vikings, -7, which is, I believe, oddly enough, I believe it could go either way, only because it's a divisional game. But I have the Vikings going -7. I take that for sure. Um, Justin Jefferson is, I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
who they really have to contain him.
So this is what I did for this game. I looked at one, it's home for the Vikings, right?
Right.
And like you said, it's a divisional game, but it's not a primetime game. So guess what? Kirk Cousins is going to be just fine.
And
He's going to get the ball to Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson's probably going to have, 150 plus yards,
and we'll see what
a
happens.
touchdown or two. And look, the Bears, I mean, they just have not looked good at all. They cannot protect Justin Fields. They're actually at this point already a few weeks into the season. They're in danger of just ruining this guy's career. They can't protect him. He's getting hit more than anyone.
Right.
He doesn't have real weapons, right? Mooney's a decent receiver, but he's not a top tier talent at wide receiver. The rest of the wide receivers, who I don't even know where you want to rank them. You know what I mean? They don't have any like solid go-to running backs.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah.
You know what's crazy? They had an under, and man, FanDuel loves to do this. FanDuel loves to do this because they had a thing, right? They're like, and granted, I mean, Justin Fields hit the under every week, right? Goes against the Giants. The lowest under, 145 yards. And Justin Fields has been under all the time. Da 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 da. Goes like within the first quarter. And what's crazy is they had a under for Darnell Mooney within the first quarter. I took it. I was like, oh yeah, he's not gonna pass it. It was raining at the day. I was like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, it's a nasty day. They're probably just gonna run the ball just like they did against the Niners, and we'll have another monsoon game. And what do you know? Justin Fields goes and he throws over 145 yards. Same thing with Cooper Cup yesterday.
Mhm.
Cooper Cup, that's a guaranteed touchdown. There's been a boost on it. And what happens? Cooper Cup doesn't get a touchdown. So I mean, I don't know. It's probably an analytical thing where they look into it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Justin Fields is weird. I still haven't completely made my mind on him.
Well, you can't because he's not playing in a real team.
You
He's
can
no,
because
you can't evaluate players. He might as well be injured.
no, I see that's where I see things differently with so Andy Dalton played with the same team, and Andy Dalton got a lot out of Darnell Mooney. He got a lot out of Ty Mon or what? No, not Ty Montgomery. David Montgomery.
No, time out. This is not. It's not the same. It's not.
It is. The difference is, and you could look at it. You could even look at it in the Saints game. Obviously Andy Dalton is not what he used to be when he was on the Bengals, and he's not like the Red Rifle like they used to call him. But he gets rid of the ball fast, and again, obviously it's a little bit hard to do when you don't have much protection. But he literally had the same protection that Justin Fields has. I think the problem is that these coaches, they just throw these quarterbacks into the fire. You know who's a quarterback I wouldn't be surprised plays great once Aaron Rodgers' time is up is Jordan Love. I don't think you keep Jordan Love for that long if you don't believe in him. And I think he's learning behind Aaron Rodgers the way that quarterbacks should be learning. You should be holding a clipboard, earning your stripes in the locker room, understanding how to run an offense, understanding these factors, and then once you're ready, put you in that situation.
Yeah. Well, either way, I think the Vikings handle the Bears here.
Yeah,
And
I mean that's the whole point. That's the whole point of this. We could get into the whole Justin Fields maybe later on in the season where we see more of a body of work. But yeah, we could get into it. So another bet that we want to get into is the 49ers versus the Panthers. The Niners are away and they're the -4.5 favorite. I think this is a gimme.
yeah. So
So
here's what happened with this game. I was talking about earlier about looking at the stats between the Niners and the Rams, and I knew that I kind of felt like just from the eye test, from what I seen this year, the Niners were going to win. Looking at the numbers,
right,
a pass heavy team going against one of the best passing defenses in the league.
and a run
Oh
heavy
yeah,
offense.
the 49ers are going to just destroy them. This line was 4.5. It's down. It's all the way up to -6.5 now after watching what the 49ers did to the
Better
Rams.
take it today.
So, and this is another game where, yeah, I feel like, this is a gimme for the 49ers. I like them to cover 4.5. I still like them to cover 6.5. I think the Niners hold a Panthers offense that isn't very good at all. And I think they're the number one offense in the league. They're tied with the Bills right now. Number one defense in the league, tied with the Bills right now.
Right.
In total yards per game, I think they're going to show up and do what they do on the road. And I think offensively they'll be able to put up more than enough points to leave this game a bit out of reach for Baker Mayfield and the Panthers. So
I'd love to see Baker struggle. I love to see it. I love to see it. He even struggled against the Cardinals. But yeah, I don't think the Panthers have enough firepower. I don't think their defense would be able to hold that, to sustain that run. And again, I think Baker's going to be Baker, as I always say. And we'll see what happens. I mean, that's pretty much it for the day. And again, thanks for joining us for the 5th episode of the Illegal Defense. And we look forward to hearing from you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to hear any topics, leave a comment below and we'll definitely get to it. And thanks for watching.